All right.
All right.
Melissa,
Yes.
nice to have you here
Thank you.
at the Superhuman Builders Podcast. Are you recording already?
I am.
Go.
I am.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Let me start over.
Yeah, sure.
Can you restart?
Do I say max or maximilian?
Oh, that would be bad. You can say
Doesn't matter. Max
yeah.
is easier.
Say
Yeah.
max.
Okay, sure.
Can you restart?
Restart. Of course.
All right. So, Melissa, you used your own pain to transform yourself. You were diagnosed with IBS and PCOS as a baby, and you have turned your own pain into purpose, which really makes you a superhuman builder, right? You have transformed over 130 women with your brand VitalFix, and today we want to dive deep into what you learned about Eastern and Western medicine, what you learned about natural healing, and what you have learned along the way of transforming your own pain and the pain of your customers.
Yeah.
So, welcome to the Superhuman Builders
Thank you,
Podcast.
Max. Thank you for inviting me to be here.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
So, we have met at Rejuvo Life, right?
We did, yeah. Biohacking Center in Bali. Yeah.
That was like a coincidence.
Very, yeah. Yeah, my friend actually was waiting for me to come out and you started talking to her and she introduced us. Yeah, really nice. How that goes, yeah.
Great coincidence because I actually was there to interview Vincent,
yeah.
but in an unofficial way.
Yeah.
And we had a great conversation about health and diagnostics.
Amazing.
And it was almost like a mini podcast just in the waiting room of
Oh,
Rejuvo
wow,
Life.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, he came in and he started asking me all these questions, like actual questions about like biomarkers and blood testing, and he was so intrigued by what I knew that he wanted to speak to me as well. So I actually had a meeting with him too. Yeah.
And you work with him now, right?
Yeah, we work together now. We have to work all the details out still, but he would love to have me on board as the female health expert who can do all the reading of the blood testing, make personalized plans, and of course coach people through the healing process.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So today we really want to dive deep, right? This whole topic of holistic health for women is oftentimes looked from a perspective of classical medicine.
Yeah,
right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So we have, especially when you say you have IBS and PCOS, so maybe you can briefly explain your own story of how you have understood your own health and then also transformed it, and briefly explain like how did you get to the point to call yourself a holistic health practitioner?
Yeah. So actually, the whole story starts when I was like a little baby. I already had like gut issues when I got out of the womb. So it started back then, and I, of course, cannot remember a lot of this, but I hear the stories of my parents telling me like, you were constipated all the time. Like as a small child, it was very traumatizing for you to like even, like train potty, because it was a thing that just didn't work for you yet. So they diagnosed me when I was very young with IBS, which is of course now more a collective name of like something is up and your gut is trying to survive.
Can you say what IBS stands for?
It's irritable bowels syndrome, and I was thinking it in Dutch. But if you look at it from a Western health perspective, it actually means like the gut is out of whack. It's out of balance in a way, and they figured that out, but they cannot see any like actual like polyp cellular problems. They don't see parasites. They check on a lot of different things, And if it comes out clean, from the Western perspective, comes out clean, but you still have these issues, then you usually get this like IBS.
So it's a diagnosis basically when
They
the
have-
conventional system gets to their limits.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So they check a lot of things, and if they can rule these out, then you still have these issues. Then you get to the point where you have IBS, which is a very big thing. Like only in the Netherlands, that's the statistics that I know. It's 20% of people, and it's double the amount for women. So I already started like thinking about why. My father had gut issues as well. He's been like in the past when I was young, I've seen him struggle with the same type problems that I had. And when I turned 12, of course, as a woman, your first period starts, and that was horrific. Like I was sick 1 week every month, like sick, throwing up, in pain, bleeding very heavily. And that actually, like, I was in a very high grade, but I, like, in years, I just went down and down and down.
It
Even
got
in
worse.
even in school, because I just couldn't show up. I was like 25% of the time, I was out of it. I just couldn't do or be active or do what I wanted to do. Yeah, that took quite a toll on my self-esteem, and I started being a little more introvert, and yeah, just it was a very hard time. So I have this thrombocytis. It's like they call it a factor V Leiden. You can have it run in the family.
It's like
I
parasites or what?
No, I have it run in the family. It's like they say it's like a defect in the process of how your blood builds and grows thinner or thicker. So I have like a little defect that is in there, which makes me have an easier thrombocytis. You know what that is?
No.
It's like a blood cloth. So you can get a blood cloth in your body easier than other people. That's it. So if you sit too long, if you take like the pill.
It's like thrombos with like the socks that you put on during a flight.
Exactly.
Okay.
So for me, as the 12 and 13 and 14-year-old, there was no, like, from a medicine perspective, there was no way to help me because I was tested on this and I wasn't allowed to go on, like, the pill. So, which usually in the Western society is the first thing they do to help you stabilize these PCOS kind of things. So that was not, like, in the cards for me. So they actually placed an IUD when I was 15 years old. Like I was not sexually active yet, so it was a very...
What is IUD?
It's the hormonal like spiral that they place inside of the uterus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that was not active at all. So the experience of that was very traumatizing again. So as you can already feel, like there was a lot going on in this system. It felt closed off. Like even my hips, like everything felt like cramped and tight, and it was not like free flow. It was not healthy. It wasn't like, and that was the way that they were trying to help me, which back then I understood, and my like whole like cycle went away because of the IUD, so I didn't bleed anymore at all. So I was like, okay, this helps, so now I'm good. So as my life went on, I went to study for nutrition and also sports education. Then I went into herbal practices, like how to use herbs as medicine. And then I started like, okay, I got fixed in this world of Western health, I thought. So I started studying healthcare. And this was when my bachelor degree that I was studying. And in the meantime, like there was a lot going on. I had a car crash. I had to take care of my father. I was working 2 jobs for the financial situation in our home, and Well, there was just so much going on, and my father was suicidal back then, and then he did actually commit suicide. So a lot of things for me to not focus on my health. Like I just walked away from that. And after that, like a week after my father passed, I had to go to America for a minor. And in that minor, I was gonna learn more about nutrition over there in New York City and New Jersey. And on the side, I studied hormonal health. And that was a wake-up call. That really was a wake-up call for me. Like I was in a very bad place emotionally. But when I came back to the Netherlands, I knew like I am actually finishing this bachelor degree in healthcare, and I'm gonna start teaching like nurses. I'm gonna start teaching like nutrition, but I'm all gonna teach from this Western perspective. And this hormonal thing that I just learned, how the cycle of the woman works, is not there. Why?
It wasn't covered in the nutritional
It
healthcare studies.
It wasn't. Like men and women were just in the same. They were just treated as the same. Like you have to eat like this, you have to gym like this, even like fasting and all of these different things, like how you train, how you eat. It was all based on research that was for men.
Mm-hmm.
But I just knew more about how the cycle of a woman works. So how does that? I started having big question marks.
Which is good. It's a good starting point.
Which is good.
I mean, you had a very strong why from multiple perspectives.
Yeah.
From the inner world as well as from the outer world.
Yeah.
Like everything was pointing towards that you have to master this aspect of health.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, what did you learn about the differences? Let's dive deeper into that, because you pointed out that women aren't small men. You said that is like one of your mottos.
It is a big. It's a big motto of mine, because women are not small men. And just think about that. Like if you dive deeper into the healthcare system, how we manage to make like drugs, medicine, and even how we treat people, like as nurses, as doctors, we do not really take into consideration that the whole female cycle and hormones work differently than from men. Like men have a 24-hour cycle and women have about 28-day cycle.
It's very interesting that you mentioned that. That is the question that I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
So that is what a lot of women are saying, that men have hormonal imbalances or differences throughout the day, right? Probably in testosterone as well as in
testosterone, cortisol as well.
Cortisol,
yeah, but also like the neurotransmitters like adrenaline and serotonins, like they work together. So if the cycle of a man is 24 hours and the cycle of a woman is 28 days, and a lot of more hormones come into that mix, like look at the estrogen, look at the progesterone, like there's a lot of different hormones, like not even talking about the thyroid right now, but there's a lot of different hormones that go into that mix, which also made it so much easier for the all the research to be done on men, because if you do research on men, like your statistics and the outcome is going to be way more clean. So it's harder and it takes longer and it costs way more money if you do these testings in groups of women. So you see a big like division that is there, that a lot of these things are based on men. And then what you see is, and I heard someone else say this, like if you have research about a man, like the amount of drugs that you need to give for some type of disease. Let's take an example. And then you have to prescribe the same thing to women. They just kind of color code it. So it's like, okay, let's take a little bit less because they're smaller, and let's make the packaging pink.
So
So
it's more about how the industry in healthcare is looking at women, and that our system is targeted towards men, and then women just get a lower dose or get a little bit like they get the same behavior or
exactly.
the same treatment.
Yeah.
So we could now do a master class of hormones and stuff like that, but let's keep it practical, right?
Yeah.
Let's pretend that one of our listeners right now is your ideal client.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe you can briefly give like 5 bullet points of what your ideal woman looks like. And then let's dive into telling her what the core differences are that she doesn't know about. Practically.
Mm-hmm. So, like, if I look at my ideal client, and you've already mentioned, I've worked with like 130 women one-on-one. Like, I've done one-on-one, which is almost a year, a half year to a year in my practice. But I've always also seen over 200 women in like membership type. So the women who want to learn but can do it by themselves. If I'm explaining what my like ideal client is, it's first of all, it's a woman who wants to be better, who is open to the perspective and the vision that I have. Like, you're not a small man, and there's more to life and to medicine than just the Western that you're taught. So I think that's the first. You have to be open to this. And the second is probably what kind of symptoms and complaints do you have? Like, have you struggled with bloatedness? Do you struggle with skin outbreaks? Do you struggle with like eczema or like psoriasis? Or do you struggle with like some stomach acid or reflux? Or it could be whatever. Specifically hormonal, this would be people who are irregular, in pain during their cycle, who bleed a lot or almost not at all, and also all women who decide to come off any form of like hormonal, can I find the correct word?
And like a treatment, they're on pills? Or
Yeah, like if they were on an IUD or if they were on the...
like a man would take TRT, testosterone.
Yeah, but even to not get pregnant. I cannot find the correct word for it.
Mm-hmm.
If they decide to come off that, they're already in the right perspective. So I think that the ideal client would have struggles with this, but is open to seeing more of the perspective of like Eastern natural healing, or even like seeing biohacking as what it is. Like, we see a lot of people talking about like biohacking as something that has like a lot of technology, but biohacking is just you look at your own body and you treat yourself as an individual and you start collecting data, and then you try and heal naturally from everything that you find, which is biohacking.
It's a great definition.
It's not really even, you don't have to go in an oxygen chamber or in a cryotherapy yet. That's already that's already like next step. Like, if you would throw out like cosmetics that are not natural, you're already biohacking. Like, there's so many layers to what you're doing, but I believe that all the like nutrition programs that you see and every like sports program, like if you're struggling with things or you cannot get weight off or you have bloatedness, like look deeper. Try and figure out what the root cause of your problems is and heal. And then from a place of healing, look beyond. Look in the like more like what are you putting on your skin? What kind of therapies could you do? Even like what kind of people do you associate with? What kind of relationships do you have? Do you have traumas that you need to look into, like spiritually, emotionally? Like, there's so many layers. But I believe you have to start in your physical health.
How can someone, now you explained what your ideal customer
Yeah.
looks like, right? Or the ideal patient. And it's essentially women that want to get better, right? And
Yeah.
they are already open for an alternative way to get there.
And they probably already didn't get help in the regular system.
It's probably a very important
They
point.
come out with hey Melissa, I have IBS, I have PCOS, I recognized your story, you healed yourself from this. How? Because I just get, you have this heat fiber,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't help. That's how it goes. They're not helped.
And when you have this woman in front of you that is right now at a certain level of helplessness around her health, right? Because from my own perspective, I had that case in my family with my mother being a woman that was helpless, trying to do it all on her own, being very hard to suggest anything or even going to alternative healthcare practitioners.
Yeah.
So there's a certain level of stubbornness that some women have. So
which you should understand from the perspective of it was always the answer to go to your doctor.
Yeah.
It's how we were conditioned, programmed. Like, if you have something, first of all, especially in the boomer generation, don't complain, work hard. Your parents have been through way worse. But they didn't go to a doctor until it was really serious. And then you have the next generation who've seen that and are now okay, but if I have something, I better just go. But the first line that people think of is, I will go to see my doctor.
The general
practitioner. Yeah. Or a physical therapist. Or a chiropractor. It's the way that we are programmed.
So the woman that we talk about got burned, right, from the traditional healthcare system.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the big question mark in the room is, what do you do differently from that point on?
Yeah.
Right? How can someone who is a solo practitioner, I suppose, right? Or you have a team of
I have a team,
coaches.
But everything that has to do with the markers, the plans and therapies, that's what I do. Yeah.
So how do you have the audacity to say the general practitioner with his 10 years of studying is having a blind spot?
Yeah.
I suppose that they don't like to hear that, but
of course,
what is it that you do differently?
First of all, I have 13 years. Kidding. No. I think that it's the mindset of being open to wonder. Because I believe that we have to treat everyone as an individual, and cases could be different. I actually had a practitioner, a doctor, for my IBS, that when I came back a couple of years ago, because my IBS came back, and I said IBS doesn't exist, and I think we have to look deeper into what's going on in the stomach and into the bacteria and the microbiome and all that. Am I correct? Can you agree with me? And she said yes. She said it's true. This is how far we go in this system. So I completely spaced on your question.
So is it this is super interesting. We might not want to get into this area, but terms of health conditions like depression or IBS, or they are all just explaining something so that the human is understanding what they have. Right?
Yeah, which is also sometimes helpful.
Which is helpful.
We as people like to put things in boxes so we can organize our mind.
But what you essentially said is, by accepting that there might be wonders, is that it's very your psychology plays a big
yeah, I think it has to do, and this also relates to the question of you asking me what do you do differently. I think it's being open to opening up that entire
box of Pandora.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like people are scared to open the Pandora box, and they would like to put something in a box that they can understand, which I really completely get. But if you do dive deeper into your health with an expert, they can make sure that they explain exactly what they are finding, how it appeared in your body, and how you can heal it. And I think that what I've seen with the women that I've helped, like leaving no stone unturned, is eventually more helpful, because either you have this beautiful box of IBS as an example, and then you try and go live with it, and there's a part of acceptance there, or you don't want to accept it and you leave no stone unturned, and you go deeper into like, what is my liver then doing? Like, how is my thyroid? Like, do I have any like heavy metals? Do I have any mold in my house? Like, is something happening? Like, how is my microbiome doing? Is there like your microbiome is one of the biggest things for your like entire immune system, even for your brain. Like, it's so connected to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And if you start seeing the cycle of how everything is connected to each other, and then you leave no stone unturned, and you can have like this huge, for me, puzzle of lab testing in front of you, and you start seeing, I see this in the liver, and I see this in the microbiome, and I see this going on in the thyroid. Then you can start finding, where did they come from?
Mm-hmm.
And it could come from living in a world of stress. Like, to give like a super easy example, a lot of women who have bloatedness or are very people-pleasing people, they are so stressed taking care of people, and stress puts you in like the stressed system. Like, your nervous system has the rest and digest and the stress, and if you are in the like active stress part, your body does not get a lot of signals to your gut.
And the sympathetic nervous system.
Yeah, exactly. Your brain does not get a lot of signaling to your to get stomach acid when you just ate. Yeah, but to go into the like in the stomach. So like, some people already feel like some reflux or whatever, but some people don't feel anything at all. They just feel this rushed feeling.
They still have it, but they don't feel it.
Yeah, so, but if you don't have enough stomach acid, like, there might be like yeast or a bacteria or a parasite that is not going to be killed off there. So it's going through to your gut, which is a very long system, and in every place something else happens. But if they go there, they feel comfortable because it's not acidic. So we can multiply and we can grow. And like, even the bacteria that are there, if they're out of whack, they can start creating their own like biofilm. They can start creating more bacteria that are not supposed to be there, and you get a system that just grows into something huge. And off. In the beginning, you only have bloatiness, or reflux. But if this time passes, like, you will maybe get hormonal issues. You will get skin outbreaks. You will get thyroid issues. Like, there's so many layers and systems.
So you have like trickle down effects.
Yeah.
From one symptom, it can turn into like a whole syndrome.
And the gut is such a base for our the immunity, like how well we feel day by day, but also how well we handle disease. Like, but also this is the core place for our brain neurotransmitters, how we feel, how we interpret how we feel. Like, if your gut is out of whack, you might feel depressed.
That's a strong topic. I heard Stanford just started 2 years ago on really doing studies on that. So
I see a lot of anxiety.
Brain microbiome.
A lot of anxiety. Women with anxiety, they cannot put their finger on. I feel anxious or I feel like I'm in that stress system, but I have nothing to stress over. My every like, so what is going on? There is something going on.
It sounds like a long, arduous journey and a strong willingness to look at the core problem, and that can result in overwhelm, right?
Yeah.
So people love simplicity,
Yeah.
right? People
Exactly.
love the 3-step program, the
Exactly.
5-step program,
Yeah.
right? So now that you mentioned that there's a holistic system that you look at, where there are a lot of effects and counter effects going on, how can people make this tangible, right? Like they come to you and they are already overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Right? They are already reading
I
on
see that all the time.
ChatGPT. They're already Googling, like
Definitely.
using Dr. Google, right? Like they have been on the forums. They might have even talked to like other coaches or practitioners, but they haven't figured it out yet. So what is the starting point? What is like the first thing that you do in like some of the cases?
The first thing that I do is map out what they are actually feeling. Like the first, I have like a 5-step method, which is the VitalFix method, and it's 5 steps. And first of all, I always say that we're going to take the time because I'm here to guide you and explain everything that I find and do in your language. So I think that always helps already. Then, of course, I need to map out what kind of symptoms does this person have. So my first step is focus. So we're going to focus together on what is going on. We're going to map that out, and we're going to focus on how would your ideal health or even life look like. What's your goal? How would you feel? This is the question that I ask. How would you feel your femme fatale?
Can you explain that?
I think that femme fatale, there's a lot of different perspective. You could even say like, how do you flourish? How do you feel like you're top of your game? But I want women to visualize in the starting point of this journey, how would that even look? Because they might have been struggling and overwhelmed for such a long time. So the femme fatale, who is that for you? Like for me, it's Melissa who goes out and about her day, has the room to travel, who wants to start a family, who has a loving partner, and who she can support because that's what I want to do as well. But I can be intuitive and at the same time help women heal. Like for me, everything that is connected to that and being energetic to do so is for me being my femme fatale. Like it has nothing to do with looks, it has to do with how I feel and what I can do to change the narrative.
I just realized how your body language also changes when you talk about.
I go into super.
Yeah.
I go into pose.
Yeah.
But
Superwoman pose.
This is exactly why I asked this question, because you see them like, this is how I want to be, and I don't feel that now. Why do I not feel that now? So mapping out all of that, I go into like the second step, which is find. We need to find what is going on. I need to find the root cause. I'm going to do that for you, but you have to test. So lab testing is always the next step. They go into lab testing with the starting of, I screen their blood. I do all the blood markers. I do hormones. I do the gut microbiome, the pancreas, the liver. I try to test all of that.
How do you do that? Like, what does your diagnostics look like? Is it just blood or?
No, the markers of the blood is blood. You can also find some like inflammation there usually already. You can also see if someone is coming back from a virus or is still battling something. You can see these things. You can see like the thrombocytes, how thick is it, cholesterol kind of things you can see. So that's already like a big place for me to start. From then on, I usually dive into the organs. So I usually do a combined screening, which is feces. So they have to get feces on the male to go to the lab. which is feces to test out the entire microbiome, like how acidic is it, what is the like pH level, like what kind of substance is it, and of course what is in there. Do you have yeast? Do you have molds? Do you have
bacteria?
yeah, do you have bacteria? But even if I can see some things aligned, do you have like the biofilm, like the, to say it easy, like a generated DNA made by your own gut? Do you have something that we have to break that is there, that's not going to go away by itself? So
Okay.
I have to figure out there what is going on.
Okay.
And for that, I usually need to have like a pancreas and liver screening as well, because these two are very.
How does that work?
That is usually a blood test as well. But it could be in specific cases if I'm looking for like a SIBO, which is related to the gut as well. It could even be urine, or it could even be breath. It could be different things.
So you have a whole tool set
Yeah.
of diagnostics.
Yeah.
And I just want to point out, because people usually say, I did a blood test, right? But can
and
you
you
just...
get so many markers.
Yeah, and at the end, I mean, I've been in that boat myself, going to doctors and then getting some kind of blood test and reading nothing from it. Or reading everything is all right, and then them telling me that I'm a hypochondria, right? Like, so our conventional medical system, right?
Yeah.
But can you just briefly explain why blood test is not a blood test? So like what are the differences? They are like the big picture.
First
blood
of all,
tests.
even if I do a test, you always have the reference. So the reference in which your marker has to belong. Let's say the reference is it has to be in between 1 and 10. And my marker says it is 1. You're in the reference, right? Your blood says it's 1, has to be in between 1 and 10. But what is this reference based on? Is it based on men? That's the first question I ask, or the first thing I look at. But I think that if you look at all the reference being green or good, what are the references from another test? And how do they...
Differentiate.
Yeah, but also how do they come together? Because if I see like a cholesterol thing, but I also see things going on in the gut, it could be that it doesn't match with each other. Like if I see like fatties, like triglycerides in the gut, and I see a cholesterol issue, but the microbiome is fully clean, then that's alarm bells for me, because that doesn't make any sense. So I have to look elsewhere.
So you mean you are looking at counter effects between diagnostics as well?
Yes.
So would you say that someone who's in like a do-it-yourself kind of mode, will they be able to read these kind of things?
No, absolutely not. No, I wish, but we're not learned. We haven't learned how to do so.
So you really have to
you have to
become
professional in that. My lab doesn't even give these tests out unless it's through someone who...
practitioner.
Yeah, and I had to study, like when I came off of my bachelor, and I studied for 4 years in the nutrition and sports, and then the herbal health. And then I did the healthcare, which was also 4 years. Then I did the hormonal in America, as I just explained, like the course. But then, like, there's been years where I've been working and teaching, and on site learning like orthomolecular medicine. I've done gut therapist, but I've also done so many courses to get to learn from the experts how to read all these tests. Like, you need to understand the marker. Like, if you see histamine, for example, in a reference, like histamine and itself doesn't say anything, but you have to look at it from a perspective of how does this align with the gut? How does this align with the markers? Like, does this person have any like mucosal things going on or not? Like, you have to cross-reference all these things. And even in the Western healthcare system, we don't do that because you go to a specific doctor and he looks at specific things.
Yeah.
Because that's where I have an issue.
So the difference between your perspective and the general practitioner's perspective or the specialist's perspective is you make a holistic decision.
It has to be. And I believe in the Western healthcare system, don't get me wrong, but I believe that there's more, and I believe that we have to use it together to find out what's going on.
You're missing the real root cause by just looking at the liver
Yes.
and making
and also the way
consequence.
And also the way in how we treat it.
Mm.
Because if you have something going on, like a parasite in your gut, we give antibiotics, but we know that antibiotics fucked up your microbiome. So why would that be the first resource that we go to? Like, I would understand if you've gone through a natural protocol and then it doesn't work, that you need more. Like, you need something way more intense. But there's a reason that a parasite protocol for the gut takes 4 to 5 months instead of a 5-day antibiotic protocol. There's a reason, because it's so intense. Like, our body is not made to process this, so it also kills a lot of beautiful things that are going on in this flora. Do we want that? No, because then you have another 5 months to fix it. So you're better off trying it naturally in the end. You have to look at the long-term health.
I think that's an interesting point that I would like to dive in before we go to your next step. Because there are a lot of people who are using natural remedies, right?
Yeah.
Prebiotics, they might be even using detox programs and things like that.
Yeah.
But they read it on the internet or they got a suggestion by a friend, whatever.
Yeah.
So they saw it on Instagram, the reel looked good, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do that.
I'm gonna try.
What do you say about that? Because you mentioned now the extreme with antibiotics killing the microbiome or the diversity of your bacteria.
Yeah.
But what do you say about the other part of the spectrum of natural healing done without an expert?
They're trying to biohack in the best way that they can and comprehend in that moment. I applaud doing that, like trying things, but being aware of possible side effects of it. I have had a client, multiple actually, who've been, one example is a woman entrepreneur. She has been suffering with gut problems so long, and she tried it all. Like everything she saw in protocols, detoxes, she tried it all. Like she saw doctors. Eat fiber is something that we say for gut problems, right? Especially if you're constipated. This girl had SIBO, which is a bacterial overgrowth in the small intestines, like in the gut problem, like the fiber solution has to do with a whole other part of the gut. So she was actually feeding the SIBO the wrong bacteria.
Wow.
So her problems just got worse and worse by eating fiber.
Yeah.
Like, and if you think that you're doing a detox program for the right reasons, you might not be doing it for the right cause. That's also like maybe I'm an overthinker in this department, but that's why I love biohacking, because you gather data. You know what you're doing and why you're doing it. And a lot of people try to do what is best for them or seems best for them, but if you don't know, you're just treating symptoms, probably.
Feeding the wrong.
You might be feeding the wrong. Yeah. Like if you're doing a detox with the juices made of fruits and vegetables, I think it has a lot of nutrients. It's beautiful. But if you're not chewing, you're sending a wrong message. Like if you're having this, which contains a lot of sugar, but you have a yeast in your gut, You're just giving it food.
So candida.
Candida, yeah, exactly. You're feeding the problem, but you don't know. So like women who have a yeast infection, even vaginal, like it could be in the gut and just switched over. Like they can penetrate through skin, you know?
Wow.
It's, if they get big enough, they will overgrow. Then you're just feeding the wrong. You're doing it exactly wrong. And that can happen, and I don't wish that on anyone, but I've done it myself, you know, before knowing, trying. Because you want to get rid of these problems. They influence your life day by day. Like, you don't want to feel that way. Like, if a woman goes on holiday and she cannot feel comfortable in a bikini sitting because she's bloated and she looks 5 months pregnant, I wouldn't feel I would try a detox before going to my summer. Like, you know, I get it, but it comes from a fearful and desperate place, and not from a comfortable and trusted place.
Yeah, not only that, it doesn't come from knowledge, right? Like precise knowledge, because what you just mentioned is you look at the whole picture and then you make counter, like then you consider counter effects.
Yeah.
And
I'm not even like, I cannot even know everything.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a medical practitioner. Like, I'm a natural or holistic medical practitioner. Like, I have had 13 years of studying and I dove deep into a lot, but you cannot know it all. Like, if you look at, you probably know Gary Brecka, who has read research and reports and also has like the memory to remember everything. That's not me. So I do my best as well for these people, but I do it from a knowledge place. And I also applaud people who try to do as much as they can if they cannot afford to go into a one-on-one or a biohacking program or afford an expert, because we do not have the system to financially support people who like come to me.
Yeah, we have the
We pay a monthly fee for like healthcare, but yeah, if you have something that you need more help with, or a holistic practitioner or some expert,
things extra.
yeah, it's gonna be from your pocket. And you know it, and some people cannot afford it. Which is why I do these like courses to try and like, try this, please. At least it's something, you know, but it comes from an expert.
And it probably would already be helpful to have this message spread.
Yeah.
That you might be feeding the wrong. The wrong cause, or you might be worsening.
Like, I'm on social media. I'm not big on social media, but social media is needed to spread the world. You want to have a ripple effect. But from the other side, that happens as well with promoting a detox and promoting like the whey protein products and all the supplements that are like PMS support and all of that. Like, it all goes into a big mountain of, we are also making money, which is why I would love to have my own supplement brand, but to make supplements that are the herbs that I use right now for treatments. Like, I do not understand like the testosterone boost program, which has this and this and this, or the PMS support this and this and this, because you don't know what's underneath for these people. So I would rather see like a garlic extract product to help with treating a parasite, or nettle. Like, I would love to be hands-on on having a supplement brand like that, but it's way different, and people still buy.
They're obsessed with the pill.
They buy the potential quick fix.
Yeah.
And I get it, but I don't understand it. Yeah.
Maybe we reach some people who are thinking differently after listening to this podcast. I mean, you certainly made me question things.
Do you want to get tested now?
And I'm a man, and I did a lot of tests. Like,
yeah.
I'm today it's not about men's health at all, but like I suppose that there are a lot of similarities when it comes to optimizing.
Men are
The
welcome in
man.
my practice as well. Like I treat men as well,
Okay.
but for me it's just easier because it's always similar problems. Because it's easier. Like there's a lot of more factors in the puzzle for women than there is in the puzzle for men.
So you get more out of it. You get a
Yeah.
bigger gist out of it when you optimize it.
I mostly see male entrepreneurs coming in for like in Dutch we call it ABK. Like it's a checkup like you check your car. Like they come in, they say, okay, this is a program, it takes 6 weeks. I come in, I test it all, and you just make that puzzle for me and tell me what to do and I'm off.
Oh, I love that.
That's what I do too. But for me, it's like I just dive into this. I write the program, like how can you heal or how can you optimize? Because a lot of people are looking for that last like couple percent of optimizing their health, and they go off and they buy their own stuff and they go do. Like that's a very short program, but it's something that triggers men.
We will put all of that into the show notes, I'm sure, right?
Oh yeah, we can do that.
All of the programs that you have or any kind of call to actions that we want to include.
Yeah, we didn't even finish the 5 steps.
Yes, let's go back to the let's go
I
back
just
to the
realized.
5 steps.
Yeah.
So what is, I guess we're at step 4, right?
Yeah, well, because step 3 is fix. Yeah, so if you find it, I find it, I can write a program which is a therapy plan, which is fully natural, and it includes things like how to deal with sunlight, biorhythm, nutrition, even exercise. But usually I leave the exercise part out in the beginning because healing also takes a lot of energy and stress. Recovery first. So it's very slow. But the third step is fix, which is why it's VitalFix.
That's where
you fix your vitality. Yeah, it's where you fix the issue that is underneath. It's where we fix the problem to resolve symptoms.
How can that look like? Like what is it, like a 6 months, 3 months
That
protocol?
is so different for everyone.
And you get like a personalized protocol in the fixed phase.
Completely personalized protocol, which is a step-by-step phased out plan, which includes supplements, herbs, and nutrition to heal what's going on. And it is in the length 3 to 6 months usually, because, for example, you have a parasite. I'm gonna take that parasite. I'm gonna try and get it out in like phase 2B. Like you have a phase to prepare your gut, to prepare your immunity, to prepare your liver for what's to come. And that's also why I made the reference to antibiotics, because your body has to clean that up as well. Like your liver has to clean everything. So like you can expect me to say like in this specific phase you cannot drink alcohol because it will overload. Or in this phase, you have to eat less protein because your kidneys will not be able to flush it out. There's levels. So I usually have a phase 0, which is only used for people who have like the biofilm, like the almost made DNA. So when it's real bad, there's a phase 0. So we have to break something before we can start the therapy plan. In phase 1, I'm always preparing the body for what's to come. In phase 2, I'm healing the body of what's there. And in phase 3, I am rebuilding. And in phase 4, I'm always doing like a protocol to make it sustainable. So it's always prepare, heal, rebuild, and then make sure it lasts.
So the polar opposite of a quick fix.
Definitely, yes. And some people, like, even my clients say, wow, this is gonna be long. That's why I will be by your side. And some people say, oh, I can, like the entrepreneurial guys, they say, I can do that on my own, I know what to do. that's fine. I love that. I did the same thing for myself, but
Trial and error.
yeah, but most people really need to be able to ask, like, you're saying that I cannot eat these kind of foods. Does it include this? Like, I have had people ask me this question because they just sometimes don't know in what category something goes. Like, I'm almost out of this supplement, or this supplement is giving me an itchy feeling, or they have to have someone who they can text this to immediately and who will respond in
kind
a
of feedback
way.
mechanism.
Yes, because like if you have a nettle extract with garlic together, or even cumin or anything, to heal something, especially in that phase 2 of healing, that can be hard on your body. Like, you can have a counter response. People have to be able to ask me, like, why do I get this itch, or why do I feel so tired today, or like, okay, this is what you're taking, this is what it's doing, this is why you feel how you feel. Reassurance.
Yeah.
Which makes the sympathetic system.
And it makes it more bearable
Go
because
down.
you know there's a reason why I'm going through it. You
Yes.
also have in the back of your mind like the femme fatale kind of thing.
Yeah.
Your big why.
You know
right?
why.
You want to go through it.
Yeah.
So it's a real commitment that you need to go through.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And the fix phase is always the longest phase, which is why I love my name so much with the VitalFix. But it's a big phase, and a lot of people need guidance.
So how many people follow through?
Everyone.
Wow.
I have not had one person not finish.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big statement.
Yeah. So far. Yeah, it's not good though. But yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think because, and also like people know that they invested money in these tests. They invest money in me to read them and write this therapy plan. They invest money in the stuff that they need for the therapy plan, and then as soon as they're in, they will not stop. Because they know what is step 5.
Yeah.
They know where they're going. They know they're halfway. They want to go into that phase 4, which is lifestyle based. Like, how can you, now that you are healed, how can you flow? And that's
and maintain it probably.
Yeah. So the 4th phase is flow, and flow is based on women, because I want them to learn how they can live according to their cycle. What phase are you in? Like, the 4 phases, the 4 seasons of the woman, they differ in hormones, so they differ in outcome. How do you eat, sleep, exercise accordingly
to your cycle?
Yes. So when do you overload if you do this, or when do you under pressure if you do this? So the 4th phase is always flow, and for men that for me is simpler, because they can just follow these like research type videos and everything that we all already know.
90% is solved by going to the gym anyway.
That is also true, but that is actually something that works for women as well. Like, women are so, like, I see very beneficial things of Pilates, but we need to do strength training. Like, we need to build now for the future. Like, do you want to lift up your grandchildren? Like, lift now.
Yeah, the whole sense of something being losing muscle and age.
Yeah, the muscle thing. Like, women are also in this society so built on being thin. Like, I'm not super thin, but I am fit, you know? I did a high rocks. I didn't finish very fast, but still, I did it. That was also to prove to myself after my car accident that I was back in my game.
Nice.
But we didn't even cover that, my accident. Doesn't matter.
I think people have the feeling that you had a strong health background anyway.
Yeah, we can sense it. But yeah, I think that the flow phase is all about women understanding women.
Yeah.
And women understanding themselves and going out of their head and into their body. Feel.
Wow.
Feel what's going on. Feel what your body is telling you.
But the feel phase, which is interesting,
the flow phase.
Because a lot
is
of
feel, yeah.
many start with that phase, right? And then use their feelings
They've-
to come up with a therapy plan.
They've come to a point in where they felt that something was off and off.
Yeah.
But people love practical, which is why phase 1, 2, and 3 is based on focus, find, fix. There's more. Feel, flow, understand, respond to what is going on, who you are, like as a woman. And then they've already learned in my fix part in the 6 months how to eat. And in the flow phase, they will just figure out, I'm gonna do this.
This is turning into a lifestyle
yes,
now.
Exactly. So they've already been doing a lot of that. But in the flow phase, they start to understand why, and they've already noticed what it does. Like they felt more focused, more productive, more energy, more like on top of their game already. So they know now that how to eat in each phase is beneficial. But it's going to go more structured because before we've been eating accordingly to phase of the therapy plan, which is not always accordingly to the phase of the cycle. But then you shift into accordingly to your cycle phase. So women start learning here how to flow. And then they go into the last step. And you can either call it femme fatale, which is what I like to use, but some of my clients feel more connected to flourish, because this is when the flower opens up. Like, this is when you go out there and you set your mark, whether that's with your children, whether it's with your partner, whether it's in your own business or at your work, or whatever ambition you have or core like message that you have to send or the difference that you want to make, that is where you do it. That's where you go out and about and you maintain what you've learned in these last phases, but you now turn it into your strength.
So that's where the transformation actually happened.
Yeah.
Where you went through a little bit of a hero journey almost.
Yeah.
Right? Like it sounds the call for adventure to get started with you, right? Then the ups and downs of the therapy plan.
Oh, definitely.
And
the good and the bad.
The good and the bad, the feedback mechanisms, asking you questions and
definitely.
following through. And then understanding how to understand your own cycle as a woman and act accordingly.
Yeah.
That's probably also a very big point. I saw your Instagram posts on like how you are like changing your behavior based on where you are.
Day by day. Yeah.
So I really encourage checking out your Instagram.
Yeah, which is in Dutch still though.
Okay. Well, maybe we have some Dutch listeners here. So to wrap this up.
Yeah.
You have this woman now that went from a certain level of helplessness to her femme fatale flourish.
Yeah.
Right? What is then the final step? Did she make the whole transformation and then she's out and about? Or do you continue working with these people?
No, but I always check up on them.
Okay.
So, because these people, I'm in their lives. Like, in their lives. I've even had women who let their husband join. Like, you're coming in on this. And I had to test them as well. And I had to make even nutrition plans where they could have dinner together. Like, that's a mess for me, but it's because it's hard. But usually you see a life change, not only of that person, but of the person close to her. So you see a family change. And I think that ripple effect is something that I want to keep in touch with. Because I can already see, I'm thinking of the son of one of the clients that I have, who now screams, "Don't eat that, Mom! It has sugar," you know? It's not natural. Like, and it can go like, because this kid is so interested in what is going on, and he's been eating differently, and he's been having better grades in school, and he's been feeling more energy and more clear. So, and kids are, I think, the most interesting thing for me to follow. Because as soon as I help someone, if they have kids, because that's of course not always the case, if they have kids, I want to see what happens there.
Powerful. It's like counter McDonald's, right? Like establishing the right habits instead of questionable habits.
Yeah, but because I know that this little guy, is going to broaden the ripple effect. Because he is so like engaged. Yeah, and that is gonna be one of the new biohackers, which is something that I love to see, because
breaking more Brian Johnsons.
Yeah, and I think exactly, or maybe not in that extreme, but what he is doing is actually really, really good for us, because everything that he collects in data is helping us. So he's putting personal money into research for the whole world. That's how I see what Brian Johnson is doing. Like, it's absolutely insane. It's amazing. I
think it's the same with like the Formula One metaphor, right? Like where you use Formula One extreme cars, and then you use it for serial cars, right? Like where, of course, we won't have.
It's a very masculine thing.
So
yes, it's true.
But
I agree.
I can understand it like that.
Yeah.
So you are doing pioneering work, right? Like we are here in the SuperhumanBuilders Podcast. I have one last question. Maybe take a little bit of time to think about it. But if you were put in charge of our health system right now, right? With all its intricacies, we don't have to make it more complicated than it is. It's already fairly complicated, right? But if there's one thing that you could implement from your 13 years of practice, of experience, looking these women in the eyes with their husbands or whatever, right? Like changing lives, what is one thing that you would like to implement?
Oof. There's a couple of things that come to mind. But for me, implementing, I think for me it would be taking women more seriously. I think it would be doing as much research on women as we do on men. And on the second hand, it would be find root causes and treat naturally. Like, that would be 3. If we could do even one of these, the whole system would change drastically.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Melissa, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For being on this podcast. Is there one last thing that you would like to share? Maybe your socials, just to make sure that people can check you out.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually on social media with my name, Melissa Schuman. And you can follow me there. It's still in Dutch for so far. But of course, my website, vitalfix.nl, but even my blog and all the recipes that I write for everyone out there, which is accessible in all languages. Vitalfoodie.com is also a place where you can find me, go, and even contact me.
And maybe we can, I don't know how open you are for that, we can plan that, have a little offer for the listeners if there's someone who's like, wow, that sounds like I want to do that.
Yeah, of course.
Maybe we can...
I've actually thought of that beforehand.
Okay.
So I have a couple different programs that I have. I have VitalFix Essentials, which is a group program only for women. I have the VitalFix Reset, which is a one-on-one, and the Signature, which is a very intense one, including a trip, including a retreat. And I want to offer 10% off on each and every one of those. So anyone coming through this podcast, you can put a code, but a 10% discount, yeah, trust me, that's a big one.
Perfect.
That is for your listeners.
Wow.
And for the listeners here today. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
Let's spread
thank
the
you.
word and have the world, especially the woman world, to know more about VitalFix system.
I hope so. Thank you so much.
Can you stop recording?
That was a very